Weeper and friends. Sarah Scott and Liz Robinson will join us.
Came out of the way.
Before I hand it over to Jenny, there's one other person I would really like to thank today. It's Mark Daniels up front, right here. Please stand up, Mark. Mark is responsible for the use of the facility here today. It's like he's been doing it for many years, and we really appreciate it. Thank you, Mark. All right, let's start with this presentation. Jenny?
Hi, I'm Jenny Weaver, and these are my two helpful assistants, partners in crime, Carol and Linda. And we're going to talk to you about the art of making hoshigaki. And I would like to really thank my husband, Tom, who's the one with the camera, because he helped put this slideshow together. I know how to take care of fruit trees, but I know nothing about computers. And before we turn the lights off, I just want to show you what we're talking about. There's two basic types of persimmons. One is the fuyu, it's flat. So fuyus are flat. The other kind of persimmon is the hachiya. This is the kind we're going to be talking about, and it's heart shapes. Hachiyas are heart shapes. But I have a friend who keeps calling me Hayashi. He reminds me of the Hayashis are doctors and farmers, not persimmons. And we're going to talk about the magic of it, because if you've ever tasted a food, you can eat it like an apple. It's fantastic. You can eat it when it's hard. But if you eat hachiya when it's hard, you are going to be sorry. Your mouth just puckers up. It's worse than the lemon. Your mouth is all horrible feeling. And so we're going to talk to you about how to change this hard persimmon and into something really delicious. And one of my goals today is to convince Joe that persimmons are as delicious and fun as apples. So I'm going to zip through some of these slides, and the show will be on our website. Darla, our great webmaster, will put it on. So here are just some examples of what they look like when they're finished. And when you go to the website, you can click on this, and it will show you how to pronounce it. But it's sort of like tomatoes. You know, you say tomato, I say tomato. Some people say Hoshigaki, and others say Hoshigaki. So I honestly don't know how to pronounce it correctly. But it's an ancient art, and maybe we could turn the lights off. It started in Japan centuries ago, and then when the Japanese immigrant farmers came to California, they started growing persimmon trees in the Sierras and San Joaquin Valley and carrying on this ancient art of preserving them. And in Japan, they would hang them up under the eaves of their trees and then massage them, and it was the only way that they had fresh fruit for the winter besides citrus, because there was no other refrigeration back when it started. And it's a procedure of gently massaging the fruits, and it looks like mold, but it's actually sugar that oozes out. And I'm not going to read everything in the interest of time. You can read it on the website later, or you can listen and read at the same time. I can. There's different names depending on which countries, but several of the Asian countries make them. And here's a great picture. It shows that the Korean and Japanese methods often use fuyu persimmons, and they don't massage it, and they put it on a basket, and eventually they push them so they're little flat discs. And the quality isn't as good as the hachiya persimmons. The hachiya have a really complex flavor. And here's some examples of mass production. things are just so beautiful. You know? And I have no idea how they get up there and massage. So now I go through the basic steps of making persimmons. You get a hard persimmon, make sure it's like this. Here's one you probably can't see, but it's just slightly soft. And if your finger pushes into it, it's too soft, you won't be able to peel it. You'll just have mush. And so you can either go buy them or go to pick a tree, from a tree. And this is my setup. I have a hook on the thing and a south-facing window, and it's open on the ends, and I make 2 persimmons and I tie them together and slide them over. So they're just hanging like dice. My lucky dice. And here's Carol's setup.
Okay, so I do mine just a little different because I do them on long strings in there. I do like about 7 on a string and then like 7 strings on a rock. And we put them by we have a rack outside and then we bring it inside and put it over the fireplace. This one picture's in our greenhouse and it gets too humid in there, so we end up getting a lot of mold and stuff, so that's kind of like not happening anymore, but outside. But one thing I did find out that if they do get mold, and sometimes because of the way the string goes down them, in that little crevice, sometimes you'll just see it starting, and you have to look at them every day. You look, I just take some lemon juice on a Q-tip, and I just put it where the mold is, and it just goes away. And I think it's because I do it every day, looking to see it and getting rid of it. I've never tried to like dip the whole thing in lemon juice or anything to clean it really good after I do it, but maybe that would be too. Okay, so the other thing I do a little different than Jenny is I'm going to show how to have a picture of more tea. Okay, those are mine hanging by the fireplace, and that's the first day. So it's like lifting weights. They really weigh a lot. If I would have taken a picture today, they're like this big now. They're just kind of, but they're still orange. They haven't started turning that brown yet. I have some that are 2 weeks earlier than this, and they're just starting to turn brown and drying, and we're just starting to massage them. Okay, and that's just kind of going like that and fondling each one. I have 200 of them, you know. So it's a job that somebody's got to do. Robert likes to do it.
So these are some of my setups. I've never done more than a couple dozen at a time because we're a small family, and I've never had a tree, so I end up getting them from the farmer's market or just, from friends and so on. And one problem that generally, if you can, people like to get them with like a T-stem so you can tie a string around them pretty easily. But the ones you buy at the market don't have that because the farmers cut the stem off so they don't damage other fruit in transit. So what we figured out as a way of hanging them was what I call the office supply method. We both have, we both have home offices, and we're looking around desperately for something to do. We found binder clips and paper clips. And so the binder clips are really strong, the calyxes are really leathery on these guys, so we just clamp them with a binder clip and then just hang them in paper clips from a string in a window. This year I put them on a clothes drying rack so I could move it from outdoors in the sun in the daytime to in front of our fireplace in the evening. And a lot of it is like, it's like airflow. When I first started doing this, I thought this was just impossible. There's no way these guys wouldn't mold. But they don't. And it's kind of a little miracle. And they dry, and you massage them, they turn into these really good fruits. They lose their astringency, and they're really wonderful. The one one thing I did wrong for a while was driving too much, and I ended up with these things like tire rubber that you couldn't cut. And so anyhow, there's a little bit of a learning curve to it, but I just, want to make a picture because they're wonderful to work at. They're not that much work, and they're worth it.
Sorry. So then the next step is to wash them and peel them and attach strings. So I found that mealybugs like to hide under the calyx. So I wash them, scrub them, and I pair them up like the same size, so they're about equal weight. And then I just use dental cloth and I tie it under the calyx. And then I hang them up on my rods. And then here's Carol. She's going to talk about the tea, and I also have some samples afterwards to show you how to tie them.
Okay, I do it with we cut them off the tree with this little T, and then I cut the calyx off. It kind of breaks off pretty easily, and before I string them up, and I find mealybugs underneath the calyx, so I take a toothbrush to them and scrub them to make sure, because they're there. Even when you don't see them, those mealybugs are there. So you make that little T one. It takes a little longer when you're cutting them off the tree, but for hanging it, I just make a little loop on that T, and I can dangle them. I've got another picture now.
Linda already talked about this, unless you have anything else to add. So it's sort of like the chicken and the egg, you get your persimmons, but you also need a drying rack. Don't start peeling and then wonder, well, where do I hang it? So you have to think ahead. And then you hang the fruit, and like we said before, mold is the enemy. Make sure they don't touch. So I use different lengths, dental floss, and I can move them up and down, make sure they each get in the sun and they're not touching each other. And I also have a ceiling fan that I turn on. That helps to circulate the hair. And then start massaging. After you peel, you wait about a week, and it starts to get the sort of tough skin to it, and you can then start massaging very gently. You don't want to squish it because the insides will squirt out. And then when they're just about ready to eat, like Linda said, you don't want them too hard, you don't want them too soft. And I have a sample I'm going to pass around, and I'm going to give you a 3-hole Hoshigaki so you can cut it. And then here's for pictures of serving. The one on the right, that's how I prepare it. I save the trays from sushi, and then I arrange the Hoshigaki on it and give it as gifts, and people love it. I always slice it open because I want to make sure I have cut into some that was full of horrible black hairy mold. So I don't want to do that to someone. And then here's an example of serving with butter or cheese, which I've never heard of, but I tried it this morning with cheese, and it's delicious. And here's a recipe that Tom found. Somebody mixes it with Japanese turnip and makes a dish. So there's all kinds of things that you can do with it. And the same author also recommends pairing it with some Campari and orange juice, which I think I'll do when I get home. And if you say, oh my gosh, that is like way too much trouble, I don't have the patience or I don't have the space, you can slice them up and put them in a dehydrator, and magic happens again. So I think I invented this because I thought, okay, if they go from this hard, horrible tannin persimmon to a delicious edible thing, how about if I just put it in a dehydrator? So I sliced them up, and the next day I took a huge chance and did it, and it was delicious. So it's a miracle. I don't know what happens to the tannin, but it goes away. And they're beautiful. They look like stars. Oops. So here are some examples of some commercial products you can buy. You can see the flat ones on the left are the fuyus, and they're mass-produced. They aren't dried and massaged. They're done in huge factories. And I have a suspicion that the one on the left, that they might use sulfur to keep it Normally they turn brown due to time of oxidation, just like apples turn. And here you can buy them packaged, or if you decide, oh my gosh, I don't want to do all this work, or slice them, you can also buy them online. They're $52 for a pound. They're extremely expensive.
I'll sell them for 48. I just want to say too, if you want to make them at home, you can also use Huya persimmons. They'll work too. Hachia make the best ones. They have a whole lot of natural sugar in them, but Huyas will do if that's what you got.
So then Terry's going to pass around some samples for you. Tom and I prepared some little Ziploc bags, hermetically sealed. What's amazing is the ones I made this year, I think I picked them too hard. They're not very sweet, so I thought, oh, I don't want to put them out as examples because I want you to have the very best. And Tom miraculously found in the back of our refrigerator a Ziploc bag from last year, and I thought, oh my gosh, I love it. But they keep for a year, you know, once you produce it, you put them in a Ziploc bag and store them in the refrigerator. And this is proof that they made it a year. We wash our hands and put on, you know, gloves. So I ate some this morning and that's fine. Linda also got some that are chopped up and they're going to be on the plate so you can help yourself. And do you have any questions? One question.
What does the massaging do, and how do you massage?
It breaks up, I think it makes the sugars inside, because you know, it's a big fruit, and I think it just makes the sugars kind of come out evenly. I don't know, it's just, maybe we're just wasting our time, and it's fun.
Yeah, from the beginning, when you think of it, and so time to finish off, what's the time frame? Approximately.
I waited about 5 weeks till it was done.
For us, because we're by the coast and it's cooler, I wish it was only 5 weeks. We're more like 2 months.
Oh, okay.
2 months, yeah.
Isn't it a traditional New Year's thing that they eat at New Year's?
How long do I have? Not you. I think we might be able to. Yeah.
Hey, just pass that basket around. Just,
I have done this
excuse
for
me,
years. And
just move the basket around. We'll just pass it.
First year I never had trouble with ants. They were hanging on
Oh,
the chairs. Inside the house, the ants came in the back, and they went up the chair leg, and they just, we caught them, and then we started hanging them outside, and then we saw birds, so now I have mylar. It's crazy. When I was hanging them in the greenhouse, I didn't have any.
It's not. I've done this for 20 plus years. I started out hanging them in the garage. My first ones were in the dark, in the garage, no light, just, you know, a lot of wind. I live in a windy area.
Pass it down the whole bunch.
And I know the UPS guy, when he came, he always thought we had shrunken heads. So I was in trouble for years. But now I put them in on the sun, sort of in a room with a lot of light and a lot of sun. But I've never had ants, but I'm with you, it goes 2.5 months for me.
Yeah. I never tried it. We always thought it was the sun that is, but I think
It
it's
wasn't.
more the air
It's
circulation.
the air circulation.
The air circulation that dries them better.
And because I went to Cal Poly and we learned by doing, I'm going to pass around this tray, I call it the Goldilocks, of Hoshigaki. And you can feel what's too hard, what's just right, and what's too soft.
Wow.
If you keep them for about a year, put them in a Ziploc bag and put them in the refrigerator or the freezer.
Oh, I would have done. I like stuff in my freezer for last year.
That's why the tea is real easy, it just goes through. So I just peel them all, I peel them all at the same time, put them in a tray, and then I get ready to do the little doobie-doobie.
But if you dry it, you don't have to peel it, right? You slice it.
Oh, no,